Welcome back. President Trump issuing a memorandum limiting China's access to U.S. markets as part of his America First investment policy. The memorandum orders the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to block Chinese investments in sensitive sectors like technology, energy, and defense, while limiting investments from U.S. pension funds. The president clarified his stance on Chinese investments during a cabinet meeting yesterday. Watch.
I have a great relationship with President Xi. I've had a great relationship with him. I see so many things saying that we don't want China in this country. That's not right. We want them to invest in the United States. That's good. There's a lot of money coming in, and we'll invest in China. We'll do things with China. The relationship we'll have with China will be a very good one.
A very good one, but the memorandum says the PRC is increasingly exploiting the United States capital markets to develop and modernize its military. And this way, the PRC exploits U.S. investors to finance and advance the development and modernization of its military. Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow and the author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, Gordon Chang, back with me. Gordon, great to see you. What did you make of this America First investment policy?
Well, I think that they saw your Underwriting the Investment series, because essentially what they did was they took your words and they put them into that February 21 memorandum. That memorandum is going to be a guideline for everything the Trump administration does. And it's clear that we're going to restrict Chinese investments into the U.S. and our transfers of technology to China. And the thing that's important is we are cutting off the blood supply to those who mean us harm. This is really fundamental. I
mean, the Underwriting the Enemy series that I did on Fox Nation goes through all of the different ways that the United States is allowing China to do what it wants and underwriting their moves, underwriting the enemy, underwriting our number one adversary. They do this not just through stocks in America, but buying farmland. I mean, it goes on and on. Underwriting the enemy is what we're doing.
Yes. Well, you know, you think about people say, well, I'm just investing in a Chinese civilian company. Well, Xi Jinping has this doctrine of military-civil fusion, right, which means that the military has access to everything, every civilian institution, whether it's company, whether it's a university, they all go to the military. So we got to remember, this is one big entity in China under the direction of the Communist Party.
Yeah, and that's why we watch so much, all of these moves, because the goal for the CCP, as you write in your book, is to overtake the United States as the number one superpower.
And even more than that, to destroy the United States, because they view us as an existential threat. And it's not because of anything we say or do, Maria, but it's because of who we are. You have an insecure regime in Beijing worried about the inspirational impact of America's values and form of governance on the Chinese people. So we will not have amicable relations with China as long as the Communist Party rules it. We got to recognize that.
Well, I think most cabinet members do recognize that, but there are some that are friendlier to Communist China than others. I like the way Trump has both sides within the cabinet so that he could hear everything and then make the decisions. I mean, Jamieson Greer was confirmed as President Trump's trade envoy yesterday. This comes as the president is proposing hefty fees of $1.5 million on every Chinese ship arriving at U.S. ports. What do you make of this? This is interesting. Trump also ordered a probe into potential tariffs on copper imports, Gordon. This also goes back to China trying to dominate that market.
Well, what this does is it really helps the U.S. shipbuilding industry, because these rules will impose charges not only on ships that are Chinese-made, but also ships in Chinese fleets. And so that gives everybody an incentive for the U.S. to build our ships here. And we absolutely need to do that because our shipbuilding industry has just fallen into complete disrepair.
Well, I mean, shipbuilding, the Navy. I mean, look at the Navy, the United States Navy versus the equivalent of China. They've got more ships than us.
Well, they got more ships than us, and they also have weapons we don't have, like hypersonic cruise missiles.
How is that possible?
It's because although the U.S. developed the concept of hypersonic flight, X-15, we just sort of ignored it. And the Chinese and the Russians, they saw the military potential of it. And now the Chinese can hold our aircraft carriers at risk because we don't have defenses to those hypersonic missiles now.
This is a really important point that you're making. And it also applies to what we're seeing in technology and AI. So DeepSeek is racing to launch the next AI model right now. The Chinese startup says it will release its R2 AI model weeks ahead of the original May release date. The Trump administration is urging foreign allies to strengthen restrictions on chip exports heading to China. They don't want the United States to be empowering China. They don't want foreign allies to either.
Yes, and DeepSeek is run more like a Chinese government research lab than it is like a private company. And that's a real warning. You know, as we saw from a lot of this Reuters reporting, that this release of the R1 model on January 20, by the way, significant date, that really was accompanying a Communist Party propaganda blitz, which means that this was all orchestrated at the top of the ruling organization in Beijing.
January 20th being they wanted to release it on Trump's inauguration day.
They wanted to steal some thunder. They then went after NVIDIA. We saw a big drop in NVIDIA, almost 18% of its value on one day. Now, of course, it's recovered. They've got stellar earnings, you know. But the point is that this was, I think, an attempt to injure American tech companies and to increase the flow of money into China's stock markets.
Well, I got to tell you, this is all going to be watched by President Trump because he's applying tariffs, not just on trade. He's looking at, is Europe suing American companies? Is Europe putting digital fees on American companies? You know, is China attacking our companies? That will all go under a new tariff rate that the president is coming up with called reciprocal tariffs.
Yeah, the reciprocal tariff memorandum is really important. That study, I hope that they rush that through because it's clear, you know, other countries are putting far higher tariffs on us than we're putting on them. That's an unsustainable situation, and I'm glad President Trump is starting to deal with it in a meaningful way.
Doesn't China begin on the back foot anyway? Because in the first Trump administration, the CCP made lots of promises to President Trump, and they didn't even keep half of them.
Yeah, the January 2020 Phase 1 trade deal, which had these self-enforcement mechanisms, just didn't work. And the Chinese violated from the moment that it was signed. So clearly, we shouldn't be going down that road again. Tariffs are much better. That creates an incentive for the Chinese to start acting better. I don't know if they will, but at least we're going in the right direction.
So the president comes up with these moves, the memorandum on investment, talking about fees and implementing fees on ships, at a time that he says, I'm friendly with Xi Jinping. I hope he does well. I hope China does well. I'm inviting him to the inauguration. So you never really know what's poker face and what isn't.
Yeah, but I think what we have seen, though, recently, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks, is a shift in what Trump is actually doing as opposed to what he's saying. And, you know, I think the Chinese are getting a little bit unnerved by what Trump is doing because, remember, Xi Jinping's only plan to rescue his economy is to export more. Once he's shut out of the U.S. market, he has no replacement for that. And when Trump does something, other countries are inspired to do the same thing because Trump gives cover to them. And we're seeing even in the global South, Maria, countries are starting to impose tariffs on Chinese products.
I mean, how strong really is Xi Jinping and the economy there, Gordon? I mean, the economy has had a really rough time given the property decline. And as I reported in the past, a very important source told me that last summer, Xi Jinping had a mini stroke. And after the mini stroke, they took away his oversight of the military and gave it to one of his colleagues. So I don't know if he's actually running the military.
Yeah, the PLA, People's Liberation Army propaganda organs, have all of these praise of collective leadership, quote unquote. That's a direct criticism of Xi Jinping's style of accumulating power. And so there's a real worry that right now, I think in Xi Jinping's mind, that if he gives an order to do something, the military is going to say, no, we're not going to do it, including not going to war. So this is something that we've got to watch.
How significant is the economic downfall there?
They claimed 5.0% growth for 2024.
5% growth.
It's about zero.
Seems
it's
fiction,
a little bit above, maybe a little bit below, but all the underlying indicators, they point to essentially a flat 0% environment.
Yeah, it's hard to know really what's true in those numbers coming out of the CCP. Gordon, it's great to get your take on all of this.
Thank you
so much. Gordon Chang here.